Assalamualaikum everyone. Good evening. File handling. Let's start. File handling is again a very simple topic, or it would be much better if we do it in Python rather than doing it in pseudocode because you would be able to see how it's actually working. Okay, so file handling. Why do we need files and why are they used? So first of all, files are used to store the data permanently, and we use them to create backups and retrieve data when lost and to share data with other systems. और इसमें आपके पास 3 file modes है. So if I open your syllabus quickly, so this topic in is show understanding of why files are needed. So I've told that and write pseudocode to handle text files that consist of one or more lines. Okay, अब इसमें जो ना we'll be looking at a lot of stuff. So generally इसमें जो questions आपको आते हैं ना उनके कुछ इस तरह से topics होते हैं. So you can say writing array to file and writing reading फाइल इनटू एरे. सो ये तो बहुत कॉमन है कि आपने एक एरे की वैल्यू को फाइल में रखवाना है और आपने एक फाइल को जो है उस पर रीड करके इसको एरे में सेव करना है. तो इस तरह का जो है ये आपको बहुत कॉमन ही आता है. उसके अलावा डायरेक्टली फाइल रीडिंग राइटिंग एक्सेट्रा के जो क्वेश्चन आते हैं, बट दीज टू आर वेरी फ्रीक्वेंट. सो इसमें वी हैव 3 मोड्स नाउ. One is called read, one is write, one is append. I hope you guys know this basic stuff. Read में you read from the file, write when you create a new file if it doesn't exist. And इस पे जो भी अभी contents होते हैं ना वो आपके overwrite हो जाते हैं existing file के. So you can imagine it as a whiteboard. Like you write something on the whiteboard and afterwards if you need it again, so you erase the previous stuff and then it is there. And then append would write to the contents to the end of the file. So append का अगर आप simple meaning देखो, append means not Python, just simple append. It means to write something at the end of a document. Right? So if you want to write something to the existing document, तो फिर हम append mode जो वो use करेंगे. Okay. The following modes are used, so read, write, and append. And then you have a function called EOF. EOF means end of file. So you would not always know the number of lines in a file. So for that we would use EOF, और यहाँ पे हम file का नाम देंगे. So this will tell us कि as long as the file is not ending, it will keep on repeating the same process. Okay. So some lines again from pseudocode guide. In order to open a file, you have to write open file, then file name, then for, read or write. ठीक है, यहाँ पे आपने और साथ में उनके append use सकते हैं यहाँ पे. You have to make sure that the syntax is correct. Again, you will be penalized on its basis in the exam if you don't do it correctly. Then you have read file. यहाँ पे आपके फाइल का नेम आएगा और यहाँ पे आपकी कोई भी स्ट्रिंग आएगी जिसमें आप डेटा सेव करोगे. So this always writes data, reads data in a string format. So आपको इसको फिर convert करना होता है integer in other values. The variable should be of data string. Then the command is executed. The next line of text in the file is read and assigned to the variable. So इस variable में आपकी वो line save हो जाएगी. Write file, whatever data that you have in the string will be written to the file. The file has been opened in write or append mode. And then you will always close the file. So opening or closing a 1 mark hota hai. If you miss either one of these, you lose 1 mark. Close the file after operations are done. Okay, so let's start with a very basic example. Ask the user to input a game and write that to the file game list. So इसके लिए आपने क्या करना है, आपने यूजर से सिर्फ एक गेम इनपुट लेनी है. ठीक है, like this I've done. So अच्छा, अब इसमें you can either repeat gamelist.txt over and over again, or you can just assign it to a variable, let's say f, and then you can just substitute it here. ठीक, so अगर आप ये नहीं करोगे तो इसको बार बार जो ना आपको लिखना पड़ेगा gamelist.txt, gamelist.txt, and again gamelist.txt. We don't want to do that. Okay, so we assign it to a variable, let's call it f, and then we ask the user to input a game name, let's say it's FIFA, and then first of all I'll open the file in order to write it, and then whatever the user inputted, I'll make sure it goes into write file, and then I will close the file. Okay, how does it work in real life? So again, I'll show you all of this ताकि you guys can get a good idea. Okay, so I'm going to, this is in Python. Okay, don't well आप लोग पता होना भी चाहिए, वैसे हम P4 में पढ़ेंगे in any case, but again you just have to make sure that you don't confuse pseudocode with Python. So open, let's say games, games.txt. It should always be a .txt. Okay, and then I'm going to open it in write mode, and I'm going to write file.write let's say Fortnite and file.close. If I run it now, so यहाँ पे left side पे you would see a file, and here you go. It says Fortnite. Okay, so it's written the data in our file. Okay, now next time let's say I open the file again. So इसमें Fortnite के साथ एक और लिख लेते हैं Fortnite और FIFA कर लेते हैं. If I run it again now, ठीक, so Fortnite के साथ आ गया, FIFA भी आ गया. Okay, first of all, Python के अंदर जो है ना ये next line में लेके जाते हैं pseudocode के अंदर, it takes you to the next line. So for now we will just assume it takes us to the next line. But अगर Python में next line में हमें जाना है तो you have to put a slash n like this at the end. Slash n simply means go to the next line. This is an escape character in Python. So new line में जो है ना ये value insert कर देगा. Now see, it goes to the next line. Okay, now if I run the code again and if I write let's say Rocket League here, and now if I run this code, so since it's in write mode, it will override these two lines, और ये Rocket League से भी यहाँ पे जो है overwrite हो जाएगा इस पे. See, the previous names are gone. So this is what I mean by opening in write mode. Write mode में जो आपकी values है वो overwrite कर देती previous content को. ठीक है? So this is very simple write mode. Okay, then what if I want to read some lines from the file? So इस पे मैं multiple lines कर लेता हूँ FIFA and Rocket League. I'll run it again. Again, we always have to close the file. Okay, so we have 3 games. Now I'm going to read these into in my program. So let's say I just want to output them one by one. So first I need to open the file. So reading from file and printing on screen. So f is equal to open games.txt, and this time instead of writing, I'll open them in read mode. And since there are multiple lines, I can just loop through them. So Python में इस तरह से करेंगे for line in f print line. तो ये automatically हर line को जो है वो output करता है like this. ठीक है, ये spaces कैसे खत्म करेंगे जब हम P4 start करेंगे तो I'll let you guys know. अभी के लिए you don't really need to know this. So इस तरह से reading हो गई. Okay, then we have the append mode. So I want to open the file, but now I want to add in the existing file instead of overwriting the contents. So इसमें पहले से 3 games already पड़ी हुई हैं. So append mode के लिए now in Python, what I'll do is, wait, I forgot to close the file by the way. You must always do that. But so we open the file and now I'm going to open it in A mode. Now this means append. और इसमें हम write का function use करेंगे. So before that we add a line break, or we'll assume it's there, and let's have Candy Crush here. Now I close the file. Okay, and then I open the file again, and all the previous games are there, but new game has already been added now. So this is append mode. Okay, these are the very 3 basic modes of your file handling. Going back up. Okay, so array वाला भी अभी देख लेते हैं ताकि फिर बाद में confusion ना हो. So now I am going to read, right, array values into a file. Write array values games list into games.txt. Okay, so I'll make a game list. So game list is equal to वही जो हमने अभी लिखी Candy Crush, FIFA, or maybe let's have Flappy Bird here, and one more हम कर लेते हैं Fortnite. Okay, now I want to write all of them into the file called games.txt. या इसको हमारे पास games30. So now I need to open the file in write mode. So first of all, I'll open the file games.txt in write mode, and then since there are multiple values, so I cannot just write f.write once. I need to do this inside the loop now. So Python में करने के लिए for let's say वही हम item in game list करेंगे, जितने भी items है वो one by one आप इस पे pick करोगे, and you will simply write the item. और इसके साथ आपने end पे एक line break add करवा दी, so they are not all written in the same line. Python by default will not add any line breaks for you. And then you will close the file. Okay, let's open the file again. यस, सो लुक एट दिस, ये सब गेम्स जो है ये आपकी इसी ऑर्डर में राइट हो गई. सो दिस इज हाउ यू राइट वैल्यूज from the list into a file. And now we'll do the opposite. We'll read lines from games.txt into array games list. So अब हमारी games list की एक array है जो कि empty है, and now we have to read into it. So file.open games.txt comma read, and इसको हमने close भी करना है, and every time the loop runs. So again we don't know how many times we have to run the loop. So Python में option होती है for item या for line in f, इस तरह करके इस सबको loop करेगी. And then what you simply have to do is you have to write, यहाँ पे हम assume कर लेते हैं कि we have 1 2 3 4 5 from 0 times. So I'm creating an empty array which has 5 empty elements. Okay? And I'm going to say that go to each index of game list. अच्छा, बल्कि अभी let's ignore this for now. I'll just use the Python syntax. अभी आप लोगों ने मैंने पढ़ाया append का function होता है Python में, which just adds a value in the list at the end. ठीक है, और ये आपके पास game list आ गया. And then if I print the game list next, if I run it now, so look at this. ये आपके पास जो सारी values हैं, you can actually read them and put them into a list. So इस तरह से this is more or less all file handling. So array से file में लिखना, file से array में लिखना, and then pretty much it. Okay, just wanted to show you how it all works in real life. Now since we're done, we'll go back to pseudocode. अब pseudocode में अगर आपने one line of text लिखनी है तो you just have to open the file. You have to tell which mode, and then you will write into the file using write file. यहाँ पे फाइल का हैंडलर आएगा और उसके साथ जो भी आपकी स्ट्रिंग है जिसमें आपने डेटा सेव किया हुआ जो कि आपने राइट करवा रहे हैं, लेट्स से इट सेज FIFA, so you have to write that and then you have to close the file. Then read the contents of a line from the file song.txt and output it. Okay, इसके लिए now you have to open the file in read mode. Then you will read the file and then you will save one line. So एक चीज आपने याद रखनी है. So when you use read file multiple times, or when you use write file multiple times, तो वो automatically next line पे जो ना आप assume कर सकते हो जा सकते हो, because this is pseudocode, this is not Python. So this simply means that you're going to read first three lines, or every time it will keep on repeating and every time it will read in sets of 3. But अभी we only need set of 1. So आपने content में read किया, जो भी file में पहली line में होगा वो आपका content में save हो जाएगा, and then you can output that. Then read a line of song and then only output if it has more than 8 characters. So अब यहाँ पे आपके सारे जो भी logic है ना जो आपने अभी तक पढ़ी है, you can apply that. So you will read, open, and then you can check if the length is more than 8, then you output it, and I've forgotten to close file, so you have to write close file f. And you always have to mention the handler as well. अगर आप handler नहीं लिखोगे इस पे भी you will lose one bar. So we are going to copy the contents of the file movies.txt into the watch list. ठीक है, अब movies में आपके पास multiple lines है, but you don't know how many lines there are. You can always look at the file, but again it's not ideal approach because आपकी जो data sets होते हैं millions and millions of rows होती हैं, so file open करना is not really a good thing to do. So what you do is you will open the file for read and you will open the second file for write, and then you will use this operator while not EOF of F1. Okay, what is EOF? We देखो यहाँ पे लिखा भी होगा. EOF is the end of file operator. It will return true if the file ends, and it will return false if the file has not ended yet. So as long as the file has not ended, यानी कि आप उसकी last line पे नहीं है, तब तक आपका जो loop है चलता रहेगा. Until that point, you will keep on reading the line and you will output the lines. Okay, then write data from the file movies into the array my movie list. Okay, now we have to read the whole file again. So अब हम again not end of file तक जाएंगे, and now we have to write it into my movies list, which is an array. अब array के लिए obviously you need an index. So उस index के लिए आपको I को 0 पर set करना पड़ेगा. You will first read the file and then first open the file. Then you will read one line and save the contents in a variable. I'm calling it content. And then you will save those contents in the current index of your array, and then you go to the next index, and then you keep on repeating this as long as the while loop is true. Once it ends, you will just close the file. Okay, copy the contents of array with 10 elements into, so वही चीज है, अब इसका रिवर्स है. अब आपने क्या करना है, आपने array को फाइल में राइट करवाना है. So again you will open the file for write mode, and then you will have the array. Okay, अब pseudocode में ना there is no way of knowing the size of the array. So the size of the array would always be given to you. और इस पे आप लेंथ नहीं अप्लाई कर सकते because length is only applicable on strings. Python में you can calculate the size of the array using a len function, but not in pseudocode. So pseudocode में size will be always given. So I am assuming कि वो 10 है. आपने क्या करना है, आपके जो भी array का करंट एलिमेंट है उसको आपने वेरिएबल में सेव करना है और इसी वेरिएबल को आपने अपनी फाइल में राइट करवा देना है. एट द एंड यू क्लोज द फाइल. द एंड.